And I talked to an exec a few weeks ago and said, hey, give me something that may surprise me this year. He said the Panthers being a top 10 offense and making a playoff push, which definitely would surprise a lot of people, but they have the right talent and there's a lot of confidence in Bryce Young out there. Coach Canales said today, I'm very confident if we saw the Bryce Young I saw today on the field, then we're in good shape.
Top 10? Top 10? Is that what he said? Hey, man, I don't know who that executive is. Hell, it could be somebody from the Panthers front office just putting out positive vibes. But I always get a little uncomfortable when I hear the national media giving us props in the preseason when nothing has even been played. I kind of like it when we count it out, we the underdog, and then we just out there playing angry to prove everybody wrong. Regardless, is a top 10 offense that far away for the Carolina Panthers? That's a good question. So in this video, we're going to talk about if that's the case. I'm going to look at some numbers from last year and what I noticed of one thing that was missing last year that if we change, it can easily put us in that top 10 echelon. And if we do, I think playoffs could be on the horizon. But if you're new to the channel, make sure you are subscribed. My name is Aaron Duncan. This is Necessary Bluntness Sports Talk. You're not going to get the in-depth analysis on the Carolina Panthers anywhere on the internet like you do here. I hate to toot my own horn, but toot toot, beat beat. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on anything. So let's first paint a picture of what exactly this offense looked like in 2024 numbers wise, because when you talk about top 10, what's the category? Is it EPA if you're an analytics guy? Is it DVOA if you like analytics? Is it yards? Is it points scored? What is a top 10 offense? Regardless of what you rate it as, the Panthers missed the mark in 2024 on any of those. So on a per game basis, the Panthers offense and pass, rush, and points per game, let's take a look real quick. In pass yards, they were 187 average for the season. That was ranked 31st in the NFL. Rush yards, we were 110 per game. That came in at 18. And points, we averaged 20 points per game. It seems like there's a ceiling on us as an offense the past 6 or 7 years that we just can't get over that 20-point mark. And that was only good enough for 23rd in the NFL. So average to below average to bottom of the barrel in these three categories. Now, I know a lot of y'all going to push back and be like, Dunk, you can't look at the full year. Let's just, Bryce Young, when he came back from benching, we were a whole different offense, blah, 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 blah. And this is what y'all were saying as well during draft time, to think that there's no way we should draft offense. But if you look at these numbers, man, these aren't good enough. But we can contextualize it even post Bryce benching and let you know that there's still meat to left on the bone to be accomplished. Look at the pass yards. It increases from 187 to 212, which is a pretty nice jump per se, a good 25 yards or so, but that was still only good for 28th in the NFL. We were 18th in passing touchdowns average, and then of course in terms of EPA per dropback, if you're into that, expected points added per dropback, we were 16th. So all those metrics just speak to average at best to below average more often than not. Rush yards, it was funny because this is as consistent as it gets. We averaged one more rush yard over that backstretch, so it was consistent, but we still dropped down to 19th. However, I will say, in terms of EPA per carry, expected points added per carry, we were 8th, so that's in a top 10 measure. But overall, in terms of yardage production, we were still pretty much consistent all year, stuck at 19th. In terms of points, that backstretch we averaged 23.1 points per game. Had we kept that up for the full year, that would have been good enough for 13th in the NFL. So right on that cusp, but not quite in the top 10. Not to mention dropping 44 points on your division rival's head top in the final game of the season. It's going to be just what the doctor ordered in terms of averages for that. So I think that there's still a lot to be desired for the full year, but also with Bryce Young at the helm as things actually started coming together and it felt a lot better. The vibes were immaculate, but if you look at the numbers, it still wasn't good enough, which is why they took the approach of wanting to draft an offensive guy at the top of the draft. But we'll talk about more about that later. So all that being said, watching the tape and then just looking at the numbers as well, one thing stuck out to me about what was missing from the Carolina Panthers offense this year, and it was explosive plays. Whether it was the pass game or the running game, the Panthers offense just made things seem a lot harder than they needed to be because they weren't getting big chunk plays on drives. Having to methodically move the ball down the field every time, it's going to leave a lot of room for error. The more plays you run, the more opportunity you have for holding calls or penalties or even a turnover. Sometimes you need these chunk plays to matriculate the ball down the field a lot faster, and it makes things a lot more efficient. And the Panthers were definitely lacking in that department in both the ground and the air. So let's look at the pass game. The explosive pass rate was 24th in 2024 and 20th even over that backstretch. Explosive pass rate is explosive pass play is a pass play of 20 yards or longer. And passive rate is just how many of your passes went for an explosive or more than 20 yards. And this is just where we were below average in the league over that backstretch. Now, a lot of people may be saying, oh, the reason why is because your quarterback has a noodle arm. Of course, you're not going to be able to have an explosive pass game of 20 yards or more. Not so fast, my friend. If you look at average depth of target, Bryce Young actually came in pretty high in the league, 9th in average depth of target, meaning there were only 8 quarterbacks better of throwing the ball down the field in terms of his attempts. So he was in the upper echelon of being aggressive throwing the ball down the field. He actually on that backstretch was only outdone in terms of 20-yard pass attempts by a handful of quarterbacks. So I know the common misconception is Bryce Young dinks and dunks, but we were actually pushing the ball down the field in the system. But another facet that was missing is drops. We know Xavier Legette had his issues, but David Moore also had his issues as well. We were 5th in the league in dropped air yards, meaning the amount of distance and yardage that was lost because the receiver did not come up with the catch. These were things that we left on the moment. If you actually look at the numbers, Bryce Young specifically on accurate and catchable throws down the field was number 1 in the NFL in lost yards for a total of 210 yards. 210 yards lost because of drops on passes that really hit a receiver in the hands. I also think there's a facet of Bryce Young being a lot more accurate down the field and needing to be more accurate down the field and being on the same page as wide receivers. But when he did put the ball where it was supposed to be, receivers weren't coming up with the catches and taking advantage and helping him out. And last but not least, the Panthers were last, dead last. They actually defended their title for the second year in a row. They were last in the league in yards after catch per reception. Now, we know there's some guys like Brock Purdy in the Shanahan system where yards after catch is a big facet of the offense. Think about their heyday when they had Deebo Samuel, just getting him the ball in creative ways and letting him build up the stat sheet for Brock Purdy. When you're not getting yards after catch, it's going to make the numbers a lot more deflated, which is why Bryce Young doesn't really have the gaudy and sexy numbers. But again, it also makes things a lot more harder because Bryce has to be perfect when we put the ball down the field because guys aren't really getting anything else after that. I think it's a group effort when yards after catch is not going well. But your offensive system has to facilitate opportunities for that. So that's on Dave Canales. Bryce Young has to be accurate and putting the ball so guys can catch and run. We know he throws a lot of anticipation and throws the spots. So oftentimes there's times where the guys just catch it and get tackled or catch it and go down. The ball may be accurate, but there's just not something put right on them to be able to get yards after catch. But also when you struggle with drops or catching the ball like Xavier Legette did, Yak was supposed to be the name of his game. But too many times when you're focused on catching the ball or you don't catch it clean, you're not able to turn into a runner immediately. It takes you another split second to get going. And with that, that gives the defense an opportunity to tackle you. So it's just a group effort of why the passing game was not explosive enough. For the run game, we were 27th in explosive run rate. An explosive run is a run of 10 yards or more. We were 15th over that backstretch, so there was improvement on the backstretch, but still only league average. And our run game isn't a problem. It's just not as explosive as it needs to be. If you look at success rate, we were 12th in the NFL in success rate. Now, a successful run is something like 4 yards on first down and then a nice efficient run on second down as well, maybe getting half of the distance remaining. But so we were good about staying on schedule, getting 4, 6, 7, 8 yards here and there, and putting the offense in decent positions to take advantage and continue to move the chains, but just nothing big, gashing defenses consistently and getting big runs and explosive runs. Because hey, a 4 or 5 yard run is pretty darn good in the NFL, but it's still not an explosive run is what we're looking at in this category. But the offensive line did their job as we were 8th in yards before contact. I like to think about it as the yards that the offensive line does to pave the way for the running back so they don't get touched, because you want to get these running backs to the second and third level and let the good Lord take over with what they want to do. I think anything after that is on them. Yards after contact is on the running back. Yards before contact is on the O-line. So we had the O-line to be able to make things happen. It's just we weren't creative enough after contact. With that being said, we were league average in yards after contact. Now, Chuba Hubbard has gotten a lot better at his contact balance and being able to keep his feet and make guys miss, but he's still not a home run hitter in this stage of a running back. A home run hitter, when you have a guy that is good after contact, you couple that with the yards before contact, you get a recipe like Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley can make guys miss. He has the speed to go the distance, but he also has a mammoth offensive line that's great at creating holes and opportunities. I think Chuba Hubbard can continue to get better at that, of being more decisive and creative in open field, but a lot of that stuff is God-given ability. So Chuba, although effective and a good quality starting running back in the NFL, he's just not a home run hitter at this stage. And if you're not a home run hitter, that's why you have an efficient, successful run game like we showed, but the explosives are going to be lacking, which tells the story of the numbers that we're looking at. So how do the Panthers improve in this standpoint? Now, from the run game, I think schematically, they have to do more gap scheme runs. Now, you probably need to Google if you don't know the difference between a gap scheme and a zone run. That's a little bit of a conversation for another video, but the Panthers are a zone heavy team. And a lot of it is a facet of them doing that, but also building off that with their pass game as well. They have a few gap scheme runs that they can run at times, but I think with the size of the offensive line and the downhill type of style that Chuba Hubbard has, I think that having that as a changeup would be a great thing to do. Chuba Hubbard is very decisive in the zone, but when you run gap scheme plays, there's not any reads you need to make. You just follow your blockers, go to the area that's created, and hit it hard downhill. These things can hit a lot faster, get on top of the secondary and the second level a lot faster than they're ready for, but it also leans into that physicality of the size of our offensive line. We can still do our thing with the zone, but I think having that changeup and counter punch with gap schemes will be something that makes our running game more diverse, but gives an opportunity for more explosive plays in the run game. For the pass game, that's a complicated, little bit longer of an answer. I think we need to improve the screen game, whether it's to the running backs or to the wide receivers. Get the ball out of Bryce Young's hands quicker, whether it's bubble screens, wide receiver tunnel screens, middle screens to the running back, throwing out there to the backfield. Just improve the screen game. Give us easy completions where we can get our guys in space. Get the ball out of Bryce Young's hands. And again, we can improve and work on that yards after catch per completion, because being last in the league, that's crippling. You know what I'm saying? Because those are free and easy yards. And again, that can help boost up those passing numbers that seem to be lacking for this group overall. So I think we need to diversify and improve that screen game and really take advantage of the guys that we have and get them out in space. I also think they need to connect on the shot plays. Of course, Bryce Young talked about the depth of target and how aggressive he is. Whether it's him overthrowing Xavier Legette or Xavier Legette dropping the pass, there just needs to be a improvement, period. Like, getting more efficient in these opportunities when they're there. You don't get too many per game, so when you miss them, it really, really hurts. So I just think they need to work consistently on getting that chemistry down pat and taking advantage, because Xavier Legette ran sub 4.4. He's 220 pounds. This guy is huge, and he can really be a factor for us down the field. So I think connecting on those plays down the field is just something that you have to continue to work at and continue to improve on. Bryce Young isn't Josh Allen, where he's just going to sit back there in the pocket and throw that thing 50 yards downfield late in the play. He's a timing and rhythm type of quarterback on these go routes. So that can be worked on and improved. So I just think they have to put in the time and get on the same page from that standpoint. And last but not least, I want to see more chemistry in the scramble drill. I think this is the most untapped part of Bryce Young's game that we have yet to see. You see the flashes ever so often, but there's been so much meat left on the bones. I'm thinking about JT Sanders misjudging a ball down the field on that first drive versus the Eagles. I'm thinking about Xavier Legette running sideline to sideline with a linebacker against the Bucs on the road, and him just mistiming his jump and missing it. I'm thinking of another play against the Bucs on the road where he just misjudged the ball off of Bryce's hands, and he couldn't come up with it. Opportunities down the field that have been there that we just have not been able to connect on. And those were young guys last year, so I want to see them work on that as well and just realize that, hey, this is an opportunity for us to really get chunk plays. Again, I talked about him not being Josh Allen, but he can still scramble around and create and buy time like Josh Allen. That's his superpower. He may not be some big guy that's going to truck defenders, but him getting outside of the pocket, being creative, manipulating the defense with his legs, because they start looking at the quarterback dancing around back there. They get their hands caught in the cookie jar and they lose track of their receiver down the field. And then we can take advantage that way. Bryce Young is very sharp and being able to take advantage of that. I'm thinking of that beautiful throw, Tommy Tremble down the sideline against the Bucs, where Tommy Tremble knew where to go before Bryce Young even let go of the ball. And Bryce Young let go of the ball before Tommy Tremble even started getting upfield. It hit him right in stride, and it was a huge, huge, exciting play. And again, I just think these are opportunities that you can't really game plan for as a defense. You can't game plan for that second play is what they like to call it. And anything outside of that 2.7 seconds that Dave Canales wants him to get the ball out of his hands for, that's just something where I think we can reap plenty of benefits, and we just haven't been able to tap into that at this moment. But I am happy with the additions that they made on offense to try to cure a lot of these woes. When you talk about not connecting down the field with drops, Tetairoa McMillan is just what the doctor ordered, one of the sure-is-handed guys we've seen come out of the draft in a while. Not to mention he's a big body guy, so when we take those shots when he's one-on-one, he's good at climbing that ladder, going up and winning the 50-50 scenarios down the field. I'm ready to see what him and Bryce Young can do in that standpoint. But we also talked about the scramble drill, where Tetairoa McMillan made his money a lot this final year is in that scramble drill. He played with a running quarterback and Noah Fafita, a guy who likes to run around a lot. Tetairoa McMillan is good about working back to the quarterback, finding grass, being smart about that, and catching the ball and making things happen after the catch. Although he's a big guy, when he's rolling, he can make things happen. He was second actually in his draft class in missed tackles forced. We talked about that in my film breakdown of T-Mac, of how he works in that scramble drill. So I think that being able to add him to this group is going to do wonders. But when you talk about yards after catch, also look at that guy right there, Jimmy Horn Jr. This is a guy that you just get him the ball and get out the way and let what the good Lord gave him take over, and that's speed. This guy is quick. He's twitchy. He can really make things happen, and I think having him added, at worst, he could be a gadget guy. Give him a package. We saw it with Devin Tompkins last year in the offense, even though he was kind of in and out. They gave him a little small menu of gadget plays, and I think Jimmy Horn Jr. from day one can do that. As he continues to grow, you can get him opportunities to be a deep threat playing that slot receiver. But again, I think you can get him on the offense soon and very soon with just gadget plays alone, and that's going to boost that yards after catch. But when you talk about improving the running back screen game, Trevor Etienne is a guy that I think can be a factor as well. Very good. He showed that in college. He's a great route runner out of the backfield and very nice in space as well. Just a shifty guy. We saw Bryce Young actually thrive with a running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield his final year when he played with Jahmyr Gibbs. Not saying that Etienne is Jahmyr Gibbs, but just saying that part of the offense of being a route runner out of the backfield is something that Bryce is used to doing and he can take advantage of. That's not really Chuba's ministry, so being able to add a guy like Etienne with a different skill set is just what the doctor ordered. And finally, Rico Dowdle. He's a guy that, again, not a home run hitter, similar to the woes that I had with Chuba Hubbard, but at the same time, he's a no-nonsense downhill guy that can take advantage of the hole that's there when the offensive line blocks, because remember, we're high in yards before contact. It can get those nice runs as well, similar to how Chuba is. And so you have a guy that can complement Chuba, keep Chuba fresh, and you have a two-headed, even three-headed monster, if you think about Etienne, in that backfield. I may sound crazy when I say this, but I'm ready to go out on a limb here and say that the Carolina Panthers are going to have a top 10 offense in 2025. A lot of the issues that were holding them back last year, they've done a lot to address it. Even after Bryce Young's benching, they were still only 20th in the NFL in explosive pass rate. And a lot of people think it was because Bryce has a noodle arm, but he was 9th in the NFL in average depth of target over that stretch. But he had the 5th most dropped air yards. When you add a guy like Tetairoa McMillan, he's going to be just what the doctor ordered because he's as sure-handed as you can get. So when we take those shots down the field, Tetairoa McMillan is going to be able to win. There was also a lot of meat left on the bones with the scramble drill. We know Bryce Young's superpower is being able to move around and create things down the field, and there were just a lot of opportunities where guys weren't on the same page. Tetairoa McMillan is used to a running quarterback from college. He's going to be just what the doctor ordered in that aspect as well. And even though the Panthers were 32nd in yards after catch per completion last year, you add a guy like Jimmy Horn Jr. who has the speed that you just give him the ball and get out the way and let him do his thing. And on offense, you add a 1,000-yard running back like Rico Dowdle, who has a similar skill set to Chuba Hubbard to be able to be that spell guy. But you also draft Trevor Etienne, who's going to be able to take advantage in that screen game and in space as a passing weapon out of the backfield. We saw how Bryce Young cooked in his final year in college when he had a type of weapon like that with Jahmyr Gibbs, who can make things happen in space. This is going to be Bryce Young's first year as a pro where he has the same playbook for a full offseason. And Dave Canales, our play caller, since he's been moving up the coaching ranks, this is going to be the first time he's able to not have to put in the basics of an offense and be able to have a full offseason for himself as well with the same team. So all that coming together, the recipe and the ingredients are there for the Panthers to really shock some folks. And I'm telling you, if they have a top 10 offense We are winning the NFC South and we're going to the playoffs. Put it on the board.